Alexa, could you play the Learn, Develop, Live podcast?
Here's motivation and inspiration from Learn, Develop, Live with Chris Jaggs from TuneIn.
From London, England, where the Queen lives.
Recorded live from an underground bunker and packaged into an MP3 with a pretty little picture. Helping to kickstart your day with the motivation and inspiration you need 365 days a year. This is the Learn, Develop, Live podcast. And this is your host, Chris Jaggs.
Welcome to the Learn, Develop, Live podcast. My name is Chris Jaggs from LearnDevelopLive.com, and I'd like to thank you for downloading the podcast or streaming it. Well, just being here really. Did you know that I record this just for you? No, really, I did. So it's the start of another brand new week, and we've somehow managed to land ourselves into February, or at the time of recording this. So can I ask, how was your January? Did it seem to go on forever and ever like it normally does? Looking at when you last tried something new for the very first time is our subject, and was inspired by our little just turned 2-year-old little Finley, who last week was able to experience falling snow for the very first time in his very short life. And yes, of course, he loved it. Now, before we get into this, let's have that drop and let's get ourselves going.
50% motivation, 50% inspiration. The Learn, Develop, Live podcast, 100% for you. This is the Learn, Develop, Live podcast. It's not just a podcast, it's a movement, but in a podcast kind of way.
Welcome back, one and all. So my question for you this week, when was the last time you tried something new? And this sort of question can be looked at in many ways. One example could be, I tried that new Lindor chocolate the other day. And yes, I'm sorry, but Lindor chocolate is the best chocolate on the planet. Full stop. Whereas the other example might be that you've tried running outside for the very first time in many, many years. Now, both involve you trying something new, but both are on very different scales out there. As I said before, Finley experienced snow for the very first time. He's seen it in the cartoons, we've watched countless nursery rhymes with Santa, but this was the real thing. And the thing about snow in the UK is that it just seems to temporarily shut the country down. Countries like Germany and parts of America and Canada normally have guaranteed snow every year, but you don't ever hear about how normal life has been stopped. But in the UK, England especially, it's a guarantee. Buses stop, can't move down the road, roads are blocked, all sorts. Anyways, right, sidetracked here. Getting back to it, the little man experienced snow for the very first time and loved it. Run up and down, obviously didn't want to come back inside, but the mention of bath time, that's his favourite time, that sealed the deal with no tears, thankfully. Could the young and innocence in life be the reason why we are more likely to want to try something new, especially the ones in life, even the little ones? The older I get, the more I realise day-to-day life can be a bit dull, repetitive and boring. Days and weeks seem to fly by faster, and I have moments when I stop and think, how's it 4 o'clock already? Or, wow, it's Friday tomorrow. Some people will even question, what am I doing? It's so easy to get stuck in a rut, especially when you feel like you're simply going through the motions to get it all done. And then you remind yourself that you still need to make time to experience exciting moments. And they don't have to be anything elaborate. This whole idea of slowing down and enjoying life a bit more has been the motivation behind most of my actions over the past year, but at the same time, refocusing the time I do have for the priorities that will create and give the biggest impact and value possible. Part of living in each moment is challenging yourself to try something new, and most recently, those New Year's resolutions hopefully had at least one brand new thing that you want to try. Besides, if you don't try, you'll never know if you actually like it. A lot of people out there will have some sort of bucket list. You may have written yours down on paper and neatly tucked it away in your notebook, or like me, randomly floating around in your head. Regardless, we all should have a wish list of some sort. Things you want to try, places you want to travel to, you know the deal. Some people are doing quite well with their bucket list, slowly checking off things as the weeks and months go by. But then something can happen, circumstances can change, and maybe a big life event even takes place. For example, you have a newborn baby arrive, and for those of us who have already experienced this, boy does your world get turned upside down. How can one little person, well unless you have more than one at birth, how can this little boy or girl take over everything at once? I've been there twice and I still do not have the answer. So the newborn baby, or babies, have now arrived and your priorities have instantly changed. Your life, at least for the time being, takes a back seat and your role as a parent or guardian revolves around this one or more little person, caring, loving, protecting them before later trying to help and, well, guide them through this crazy world. While your new little person is 100% your first priority, or it should be, it is still equally important to care for yourself, and sometimes that does mean having some fun and trying something new. Why wouldn't you? Now, from my own experience, I've also gone through this little change, and just before the start of last year, my better half, Kaylee, she went back to work at the weekends, and I was at home with the two kiddies. Now, at the time, I have an almost 1-year-old and an almost 11-year-old, and I needed to step up my game in terms of being able to run the household, from the washing machine to providing for the kids and expanding my own knowledge of creating decent meals in the evening. I didn't want Kate to come home from work and then have to cook, as probably my skill set at the time was just about stir fry and bolognese. Woo! So I started. I created a weekend routine for both Saturday and Sunday, certain things done by certain times. With the lockdown we had on and off for almost a year, still ongoing, this made entertaining the kids, well, a lot more home-based. But I looked to try and get them out for a walk on both days. Cabin fever is not recommended. I finally learnt how the washing machine works rather than just emptying it and loading up the tumble dryer. Previously, I hadn't known about settings. I started to learn how to cook meals that Kay was making. My own cookbook is still a few bits of paper with just a few recipes written on. I was finally, in my own opinion, becoming domestically trained and managing the day. Now, maybe all those years in retail management have influenced that, whilst continually picking up the same toys that Phineas dropped not so long ago. Thinking back, I feel proud of myself for how far I've come, and it has launched a brand new freedom and, could I say, independence for myself? The question is, why didn't I start this earlier? I'm really happy with how far I've come myself. I can now cook a roast dinner, which once upon a time is a bit of a scary prospect. I think for me, it was mainly about getting the times right, and that was a bit of a block for me. But also, maybe because the roast dinner is often thought of the main meal of the week. You know, Sunday lunch, dinner or supper for some people. But now, I've done it so many times, and without getting a big head here, it always gets great comments afterwards. And once that was sorted, I wanted to start to make the roast potatoes as good as possible. Again, the roast potato for a roast dinner is a well talked about subject. And after some experimenting, I think I've finally mastered it. Although you can really nail them if you use goose fat. But anyway, the point is, I want to learn how to do it all. And I am still learning, but it's given me a new lease of life in the kitchen. Or as I call it, the lab. And this is something that I didn't previously have, but I'm glad I'm doing it now. And that is my story about giving something new. But here are 5 other reasons why you should take the plunge. Do you need a confidence boost? Try something new. This can be as simple as eating a new food or trying a new exercise class. Remember that new endeavours may not be easy at first, but just getting out there and giving it a go is a step in the right direction, even if you end up hating it. Break out of your rut. Boredom can be toxic, so make an effort to mix things up. Take a different route on your walk or your run. Make a new dish for dinner. Play a new game with your kids or visit a place that you've never been before. We have so many opportunities to experience in life in a robust way. Get out there and do it. New adventures may translate into new friends. Maybe if you start taking yoga or spin classes, you'll meet new, like-minded people that will open up your world to other adventures and experiences as well. When you take a risk or try something new, you will learn a thing or two about yourself. Self-discovery is never a bad thing. Pushing yourself to experience life in a full way will help you feel more satisfied in the day-to-day. The mundane aspects of life might even become acceptable to you. Start small. Forget about perfection and expect some level of failure may come with the territory. Have fun and pause to appreciate all the new opportunities that present themselves every single day. And once you've got through those, go and find yourself some others. Experience life while you still have the chance. Just go do it. Now, I hope you got something in mind to go and start now. If you do, let me know how you get on. Drop me an email, chris@learndeveloplive.com, or you can find me across social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Search for Learn, Develop, Live and you'll find me. Also, if you want to book your free LDL power call, you still can. ldlcall.com. Find the slot best for you and we discuss how you can start your journey to level up in life today. Stop ignoring the pain, stop making excuses, and let's get you moving in the right direction. Book your slot on the Learn, Develop, Live calendar at ldlcall.com and let's speak soon, shall we?
Goodbye.
What? It's over already?
All over.
Thank you for listening to the Learn, Develop, Live podcast. I hope you feel as warm, motivated, and fuzzy inside as I do. You can connect with Chris at learndeveloplive.com or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
I won't say goodbye. I'll just say until we meet again.
Until next time, join the motivation. Motivation.